Good morning and welcome to Community Issues. If you have any questions or comments regarding the show, you can call me during regular business hours, 793-7733, or email me, communityissues@atlanticbroadcasting.com. With me this morning, I have Ron Gold, co-founder and CEO of Lean On We. And for our listeners out there who may have never heard of you, please give us a little bio of Ron Gold.
Sure. I worked for 25 years in the business world, and then I was an avid athlete, an avid cyclist. And about 3.5 years ago, I was finishing a 50-mile ride up in the Rockland County. I was coming on my way home, and all of a sudden I saw an SUV coming straight at me. The driver fell asleep at the wheel in the middle of the afternoon. She took out my friend, and then she came right at me, and the last thing I remember was just keep my head above the hood of the SUV. And the next thing I knew, I was in the hospital in ICU, and I'd been in an induced coma for about 2.5 weeks. And as I came to, the neurosurgeon came into my room and said to me, you'll never walk again. You're now paraplegic. So it was a horrible experience, and in fact, he had to come in 2 more times before it would actually sink in.
You know what's amazing about what you said before this accident happened? How fast the mind thinks when something like that happens, and you told yourself, "Here's what I have to do." Was that amazing to you that happened? That you could think that fast? That humans can think that fast?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I'd also thought about trying to swerve away, but I realized I didn't have time to do that because he's right on me. You know, when you're cycling, you have a friend in front of you, and you're right on his wheel, and that's what you're looking at. And it's funny in a flash how somebody who on a curve keeps coming at you, you have no time at all. She's coming at 40 miles an hour one way. I'm going 20 the other. It's a 60 mile per hour collision, and there you are. You just can't digest it, but you are able to think about a couple things, and you just have to prioritize it, I guess, which is what I did.
So your doctor came in and he told you the prognosis, and unfortunately he had to come and tell you the prognosis a few more times to really let it sink in, because that really is it's a life-changing statement in so many ways, and I know that what went through your head was, and I am sorry for saying this often, but was doom and gloom, that things are never going to be the same, and this and that, but really out of this came Lean On We. And how did this all come about? I mean, how did the process of Lean On We, after this, really come to the forefront?
And you're exactly right, Tim. I mean, you do. I was feeling sorry for myself. It's a very difficult transition to make. I had worked very hard to build my life, but eventually I started to think of myself less of a victim and more as a survivor. I had a family that looked up to me. I had kids that needed someone to set an example for them. And that became very important to me. So as part of this process, I needed care. I needed care just like many elderly need care. I needed it when I was discharged from the hospital. I had care provided by private insurance for about 6 weeks, and then it runs out. And people are shocked how quickly care does run out. Whether it's private insurance, Medicare, it doesn't last very long. So there I was at 6 weeks. It's over. I continue to need to have somebody coming to my home, but how am I going to pay for it? The licensed agency that had provided the insurance care was not going to give me any break. Now I was paying $25 an hour out of pocket. That's a lot of money for an indefinite amount of care. And I figured, well, what do I really need that agency anymore? I know what I need. I can manage my care between my wife and me, and I'd really rather hire care privately. And the thing is, as I started talking around, I realized many people, they say about 50% of Americans who hire care do it privately. But the thing is, people who do that, and maybe you're familiar with that, most people are sort of tangentially familiar with that. You get a recommendation of a friend or a neighbor's uncle, use someone. So it's sort of 2 or 3 degrees removed, and they had a recommendation, but you don't really know if that person is right for you. You don't know if that person has a criminal record. You don't know if that person has backup. So it was an unsatisfactory situation for us, and we felt there had to be a better way.
And that better way was?
Okay, so we said, okay, well, people want to hire care privately. They like the advantage of being able to pay less money, of course. They like the advantage of choosing their care or choosing the person that comes in their home. Because, one of the problems with an agency is generally they will just send someone to you. You don't really know anything about that person before they come into your house. And particularly for the elderly who are losing so much of their independence, and of course I was as well, that's just sort of one more step. And if they can be engaged in that process, that can change things. And also for me, I only need somebody to come in for 2 hours a day. Most agencies have a 4-hour minimum limit. So that didn't really work for me as well. So I said, why don't we create a network of caregivers? And what that would be is we would meet each caregiver, and we would have a high bar. They'd have to have experience and references and fingerprint check. And we'd help them create a bio and a video. We'd shoot a professional video and upload that online. And all of a sudden, you're taking the mystery out of this word-of-mouth access of care.
And, when you're sitting there and you just told me that it's 4 hours minimum, and if we put the price tag of $25 an hour on the 4-hour minimum, and you only need them for 2 hours, they're still getting $100. So for our listeners out there, I'd really like to wrap your head around that, and then wrap your head around what Lean On We does, and I love that. I love that name because I get the little melody in my head, of course.
Bill Withers, yeah. But so to play on that, it's also the fact that we all need a team to lean on at that point in time.
Now, let me ask you. I mean, in this day and age of everybody on their computers and on their tablets and on their cell phone and tweeting and everything like that, how important has the internet in this time? I mean, you make a video, you upload it, you put a bio online. How important is that nowadays compared to maybe 10 or 15 years ago when the internet was still in its infamy and people really didn't have it in their homes, so to speak? You really didn't have it at your workplace, and if you did, it was just one computer. How important is that in this day and age?
Well, it's crucial. And if you think about who is generally driving this care process for the elderly, it's the adult children, and that population is comfortable with the internet, so they're able to use it. But in our case, we have a problem because it may very well be that the elderly are not comfortable. So we certainly take phone calls. We don't, people don't have to sign up online, and I think the whole idea that people are going to choose a caregiver and put it in their cart, and that's the way it's going to go. We're not really there yet. It's a very important personal decision, and people need quite a bit of hand-holding on it. One other thing I wanted to make sure that is clear. So I talked about the $25 an hour through the agency, and yes, if I only need 2 hours, that's $50 as opposed to $100. But really, the advantage of Lean On We is much more than that, because what you're doing is these people don't work for me. Think of it almost like a dating site, right? So the two sides find each other. They come together. So the caregiver and the family looking for care come together, and they agree on a price. So if they agree on, and don't forget, you may not know this, but when the agency charges $25 an hour, generally the caregiver is making half of that. So they're making less than a babysitter in many times, and certainly not enough to to earn a living. So if they come up with something in the middle, all of a sudden both sides are much better off.
When you talk about caregivers and searching for a caregiver, do you okay? We'll take you for an example. You're into you were cycling, and I'm pretty sure you still enjoy watching cycling and researching it and talking about it to people. When you have a caregiver and you want to put them in a home, do you try to match them with the interest of the client, so to speak? If they like certain kind of music, maybe, or if they're a knitter, or if they like to bake all the time, or what have you, or if they like to read certain books, you really kind of pinpoint their likes and dislikes.
Well, yes, and that's, again, so if an agency just sends you someone, and you say to the agency, my dad has Parkinson's and he needs X, and the agency will say, we'll try to match you, but really they want to make sure that they can fill the case. And the beauty by our system is the transparency, because again, I'm not to overuse the idea of sort of a dating site, and it isn't the same, because in a dating site anyone can upload their video. In our system, only we can upload it. So we can make sure that these people pass muster. But if you go and you look at that bio, there's all kinds of information on these people. What their experience is, actual dictated references from people they cared for, what accreditations they have, and most importantly, this video, a 60-second video. It's unbelievable how much you can learn about something and their personality, and they talk about not just their interest in caring, but also what they like to do in their spare time. So, Tim, it goes exactly to what you're saying. It gives you a sense of what this person's about, and that way the person needing the care is engaged in the process. And if it doesn't work, and it usually does work, but if it doesn't work, you can find someone else. And certainly these people many of them will interview them.
As I just have one more question, but before I get to that question and we wrap up this morning, I want to take a look at your life, Ron, and tell you, I know it was a horrific accident that you were in, and there was maybe some despair in your life and some depression, of course, which happens with not just you, but with everybody. But and I by no shake am I trying to preach here, but look at the person you are now and the person you were back then, and you're a fantastic person. But look, a door may have closed, but a window opened up for you to develop Lean On We, something we didn't have in this community and in this world. So always look at it as I don't want to say things happen for a reason, but maybe a door closed, but a window opened, but another door will open up for you, and this is going to get bigger and bigger as the weeks and months and years go by. How do we find out more information about Lean On We and how people can volunteer and make this happen?
Sure. And I appreciate what you're saying. It was challenging for me, and for me, this has given me purpose. It's allowed me to find something to re-engage with as the one door shut and this door has opened. And the idea that I was frustrated and the system wasn't working for me and it wasn't working for my dad who had Parkinson, and that I have been able to find a way where people can spend less money because this care can go on a long time. So the amount you spend is crucial. So if I found a way that people who need care can spend less money, they can choose who actually comes in their home, they can control the care as they see fit without a middleman, and at the same time, these caregivers who we know are going to be crucial over the next 20 to 30 years, because we know we're going to have the demand, but how are we going to incentivize the supply if we don't allow them to make a real wage? So it has totally transformed the way I'm pursuing my life. And how can somebody get involved? Well, obviously there's the website, like you said, leanonwe.com, And then there's a phone number, and we invite anybody to call 844-532-6669, and we are here to answer any of your questions. We're not quite in Glens Falls, but we are expanding. We are in some areas of New York. And then you may have a relative or a loved one who is in our catchment area, which right now is the greater New York area, but expanding into Connecticut, Rockland, and we hope to be moving further soon because, like you say, we're getting a great response, and it just feels great that we're able to make a difference.
It's one day at a time, and the website is leanonwe.com, all one word. And that phone number again for our listeners if they want to call?
Sure, 844-532-6669.
With me this morning, Ron Gold, co-founder and CEO of Lean On We. It's leanonwe.com. Check it out. It's a fantastic, fantastic organization. And Ron, thank you for joining me this morning on Community Issues.
Tim, thanks for having us.